Well, good afternoon. I'm so happy to be with you today, and thank you to everybody who's joining online as well. It's kind of nice to have you right here. So for those of you that don't know me, my name is Karin Ryuku Kempe, and I'm from the Zen Center of Denver, but I have long association and gratitude, and I'm a Dharma child of Sesshin Roshi. So this is kind of like coming home whenever I come. I am getting over a respiratory infection, so sometimes I have a little cough and I'll be sipping water, and please forgive my voice. I'll work with it the best I can. We all work with something, I guess. So in Sesshin, we practice sitting as mountains, walking as mountains. And so often I find inspiration in the words of Master Dogen, and I'm going to give you today a teisho that I wrote for our spring session, and we talked then about the Mountains and Rivers Sutra. It's actually amazing to be doing it right here because, of course, I'm looking right out at the mountains. But in Zen, and especially for Dogen, the truth of who and what we are, the truth of this life, of our world, this is expressed, transmitted, instant by instant, in the outpouring creativity of nature. It's the teaching of standing stones and rustling trees, insects buzzing, flowing streams of clouds. And these days, it's also the sound of a jet overhead or the train which passes by right here, right in front of us. So Dogen starts his Sutra of Mountains and Rivers with these words. The mountains and rivers of the present are the manifestation of the way of the ancient sages. Each abides in its own Dharma state, exhaustively fulfilling its virtues. Because they exist in the eon of emptiness, they live in the present. Because they are the self, before the appearance of any differences, they are free and unhindered in their actualization, in their expression. A sutra is the direct teaching of the Buddha. So this mountain range, the rivers, the roar of the airplane, the whistling of a teapot, all are this teaching. It's direct and it's free and unhindered. And really there is nothing that does not express it, if we are open to receive it. So the light that comes through our windows, the feeling of your hands in your lap, even the fatigue of your body or the uncertainty of your heart, all of these are the direct teaching of the Buddha. All reveal our ancient way, the way of this moment which comes to life right here. In Sesshin, we have a chance to realize this for ourselves, to make it our own and know it as our own bones and our own blood, and recognize it in our own voice, your own words. But if you find Dogen's words a little hard to grasp, please don't worry about understanding them in a linear way. They have many dimensions. Just let them enter and settle. Even not understood, even mysterious, they tend to nestle in and work on us beyond thought. And over time, they help us to become transparent to the Dharma which is in and around us. Because they exist in the eon of emptiness, they are living in the present. Because they are the self before the appearance of any differences, they are free and unhindered. Dogen starts his sutra with these words. The blue mountains are constantly walking. A stone woman gives birth to a child in the night. Today I want to talk about the other hand of this two-handed teaching, and it's a koan from the Rinzai book, Entangling Vines. It comes a little later in this sutra. A monk asked Master Yunmen, what is the place where all Buddhas attain complete liberation? And he replied, East Mountain walks over the waters. So, not only are these blue mountains constantly walking, but East Mountain is walking over the waters at the place where all Buddhas, where you and I attain complete liberation. It's a place that can only be where we are right now and right here. East Mountain walks constantly, walking over the water. In responding to this monk, Yunmen simply spoke. He let his words arrive without any restraint, and they were unadorned. But Dogen added this: although we may have eyes to see the mountains as the appearance of grass and trees, earth and stones, fences and walls, we should understand that this is not yet their total manifestation. It is not the complete actualization of the mountains. And we know ourselves that we're not just skin, eyes, hair, hands, muscles, or bones, not just thoughts, feelings, sensations, or even mind. We are not just what is inside. We are not just what is outside. So, where, how do you find yourselves whole? Walking over the waters, waters walking, mountains walking? The teacher Daikaku wrote this: whether you are going or staying, or sitting or lying down, the whole world is your own self. You must find out whether the mountains, rivers, grass, and forests exist in your own mind or exist outside it. Analyze the 10,000 things, dissect them minutely. And here he's not talking about thinking about it, but about looking deeply with full attention. And when you take this to the limit, you will come to the limitless. When you search into it, you will come to the end of the search, where thinking goes no further and all distinctions vanish. When you smash the citadel of doubt, when doubt completely falls away, then the Buddha is simply yourself. The Buddha is yourself. So when you feel that you can't go any further, just let yourself stop. Just stop. We often think of our practice as the search for intimacy, maybe as a path that will help us get free of whatever binds us, a door to another state of being. But actually, our practice of this moment, is already the expression of intimacy. It can only be found here. It is being awake in, being awake as, not searching outside. Practice is intimacy, and being intimate is what practice is. When we are in it, it disappears and we can't see it. It's not about being a witness to your experience. Because when we witness, we have to stand apart. Anyone who has ever skied down a mountain knows that it is not the same thing as watching a downhill race on TV or even in person. Is there anyone here who has never skied down a mountain? Never. Okay, maybe a few. Anyway, for most of us in Colorado, we have all had at some point this experience. We look down that steep slope, we can't think, we almost don't go, and then we just push off, we let go, no way to separate our arms or legs, our torso or our mind. The wind is cutting our face and our cheeks. There's just this brilliant light. The skis are crashing against the snow and ice. It's just the speed of falling into stillness. It's all one thing. It's like falling. Dado Lori wrote, most of us go through life oblivious of what is going on around us because our heads are filled with information. It is because we are so educated, so educated, that we do not have the space to receive the teachings of the mountains and rivers. We are constantly talking to ourselves. So how can we hear anything else? When we are truly able to still our body and mind, we begin to perceive a whole chorus of teachings. Forget all the words. Forget your ideas. See for yourself that all things are constantly revealing your nature, the nature of all beings. So let yourself just bump right into your life, just like this. When you see a flower, a stone, a tree, don't slide over it and just pass on. Move up close. Don't forget to receive it fully. To touch, to smell, to meet, and really look. Enter the cup you use to drink. Fall into the vegetables in your bowl, their colors, their textures, their aroma. Dogen said, seeing forms with the whole body and mind, hearing sounds with the whole body and mind. That's how we understand them intimately. All of us have walked on mountains, climbing on a path or coming down. We can't see that mountain whole. We can only see the ground under our feet. The trail in front of us, rocks, dirt, mud, maybe a stream that we cross, or trees on each side. Occasionally we meet an opening, a view of another range, or maybe it's even the vast sky. But the mountain that we're on, that mountain, we can't see it. It is invisible to us, and we are in it. We are that mountain. It's like being carried in the flow of water. We can't feel the moving. It's like being still, one thing. We can only feel it if we get caught or hung up on something. Many years ago, I was living in the Deep South and floating with my family down the stream of the Okefenokee Swamp in Georgia. The water was clear and wide. We were carried along in inner tubes, and the sun was just sparkling, just this rippling surface through the cypress trees on either side. All of us on different inner tubes, we were all moving at the same pace in complete stillness, and the trees just fell away and disappeared. Insects and surface ripples stayed with us. Couldn't feel the movement at all. Just like we don't feel the Dharma boat, this Dharma boat, which takes us to the other shore. Just as the turning of the earth we don't feel, except through the movement of the sun or the moon. It's only when we fight that flow that we call time, that we do feel it. When we step outside, when we hold on. Dogen said, as the time now is all there ever is, each being time is without exception entire time. Entire being, the entire world exists in the time of each and every now. In this instant, right now, everything is already here. There is no arising, nothing passing away. It is still. It doesn't move. East Mountain walks on the water. Is East Mountain solid and the water fluid, or is it the mountain which is flowing and the water that's still? Or is East Mountain itself water and the water is just a flowing mountain? Years ago, I attended a workshop training on making art given by Daido Lori at Naropa. This was many, many years ago. And he used this sutra to give us sections to express in photographs or painting or other media. And I was a painter, which is why I was there. So when he gave us this line, East Mountain walks over the water, something just stopped in me. I hesitated, but then I decided to approach him and ask him about it during the tea break. And he said, East Mountain expresses the absolute and the water, the world of form, constantly becoming and disappearing, the arising and falling away of the 10,000 things. Well, it's a generous explanation, but of course it falls far short. Dogen also wrote that East Mountain is all mountains. The legendary Mount Sumeru, Mount Fuji, which I've always loved to paint, the mountains just to the west, right here. And each one of us too is East Mountain. You sit as a mountain on your mountain seat. Daido Lori, who after all didn't know me, was just dangling a hook for me. And the truth is, he caught me, and I'm still chewing on it. It's a wonderful live koan. Dogen also said, we should understand that the teaching of East Mountain moving over the water, it's the very bones and marrow, that means the heart, of the ancient sages. All waters are actualized at the foot of East Mountain. Thus the mountains ride the clouds and wander through the heavens. The mountains are the peaks of the waters, and in both rising and descending, their walk is over the water. The toes of the mountains are toes, walk across the waters, causing the waters to dance. Walking extends freely in the 10 directions, and there is practice and verification. What he means is practicing and realizing are real. Please don't doubt it. So we lift our toes and walk through the day. We wander through the night, even though it's dark. And the instant when the bell rings and we all stand up, pay attention. That moment is actually inconceivable. It's beyond our understanding. Each of us balances on 2 legs at the same time, and we all bend forward to bow. And then, as one, we pivot to one side, we lift one leg to take a step, we swing through space, let our foot find a place again on the earth, and we come again to balance and stillness. Even to take a step, isn't that miraculous? So much had to happen all at once for this to be. A stone cannot do it. The sound of wind cannot do it. So waters dance and walking extends freely. And yet we take this simple walking around for granted. Maybe we don't even notice it. What appears as a fleeting moment of time, it's actually beyond anything that we can comprehend. Everything disappears in that moment. Lifting a spoon to your mouth, a particular flavor comes to each of you. Something so individual that none of us could ever truly describe it to another person. And yet this too is just one other moment in a life ungraspable. Only you can experience life for yourself. Only you can open your hands and let go completely. Only now, only here, in this place, where 2 arrows meet point to point, where life bursts into being, isn't this the only place, the only time when you are alive, when you can be intimate at last? It's just like this, this, just this one point. You can also find it when you touch your hands, when you make your mudra, your hand mudra, and you sit. You can find it when you bow as the sound comes in, when you get up and straighten your cushions. If you get up at night for a crying baby or a howling puppy, or slamming on your brakes when someone runs a light, Or maybe it's just waiting impatient during an interminable phone tree. In that second where the water from the shower head reaches your back, just that second, none of this is done by you, and yet only each of you can receive it. East Mountain, always walking on the water, whether or not you recognize it. Already you are intimate. Your life is already whole. Dogen had had many opening experiences before he traveled to China, but he still hadn't felt clear about himself. So he found the courage and the determination to go on pilgrimage with his Japanese Rinzai teacher, who I think was named Myozen, all that way, and he finally met the teacher he had looked for so long, Ryuku. So one night, after he'd been practicing with him for some time, Ryuku came into the zendo to encourage everyone who was sitting up late, and this is what he said. Zazen is the dropping away of body and mind. It does not require incense, bowing, invoking the Buddha, making repentance, or reciting scriptures. If you just sit single-mindedly, you'll get it. Just sit single-mindedly, you'll get it. Hearing this in his whole body and mind for the first time, all of a sudden, everything did drop away for Dogen. Gone, everything was gone. Covered with sweat, not knowing what he was doing, he got up and went to the abbot's room and lit a stick of incense. Ryuku said, "Well, why are you offering incense?" Dogen said, "Body and mind have dropped away." Ryuku said, "Body and mind have dropped away. The dropped away body and mind." Jack Duffy, who is a Dharma uncle to me, reminds us that the dropped off body and mind is a simple utterance of the true configuration of the universe. Knowing yourself as all things, and all things knowing themselves as you. This is reality showing itself. This dropping away, though, it's not a state of mind experienced through Zazen or a goal, or simply about dropping attachments to other things or even to ourselves. Dropped away is the way things are. I appreciate this comment. Dropped away is just the way things are. And Jack Roshi also adds that each of us has to see through the one who sees and even see through seeing itself. So this is the dropping off, even dropping off. Just letting it go. Really, it's so simple. Hard, but very simple. Just let go. No doing. Let everything be. Let your practice come first. Let it lead you and carry you. Open your doors and let life live through you. Master Ryuku said, Zazen is the dropping away of body and mind. If you just sit single-mindedly, you will get it. And Master Keizan, who was Dogen's successor, wrote a verse for this, and he said, the ground, clear and bright, has neither surface nor inside. How could there even be body and mind that would drop away? When Master Yunmen was asked about liberation, he said, East Mountain walks on the water. But another time he said, clouds gather on South Mountain, rain falls on North Mountain. And another time he said, look, listen, this world is vast and wide. Master Dongshan said, when the wooden man begins to sing, a stone woman gets up dancing. And the Buddha? Well, for the Buddha, it all dropped away in the night. He found himself the next morning in the light of a morning star. And it's a light that still shines through our windows. Thank you. Together with all beings, we realize the way.